Mia Roberts, now a 28-year-old widow, stood silent and shell-shocked at the grave of her late husband. Her heart ached with the weight of sudden loneliness. Her eyes, hidden behind her usual pair of glasses, were red-rimmed from the tears that she had been shedding since the awful moment she learned about the accident. Mia, her mother, Lucille Roberts, approached her after the service, her voice icy and her eyes stern. She looked at her youngest child with a severity that was deeply out of place on this already sorrowful day. "You should have been more careful, dear." The accusation, veiled as advice, stung Mia. She had expected comfort from her mother, not blame. I didn't kill him, Mother," Mia responded, her voice shaky. She looked into her mother's cold eyes, searching for a hint of understanding or compassion. Her mother huffed, the corners of her lips turning downwards into a dismissive frown. "I hope you realize with that plain face of yours, it won't be easy to find another man willing to marry you." Mia recoiled, the words striking her as forcefully as a physical blow. She opened her mouth to reply, to defend herself, but her mother had already turned her back, waving to Ava, Ella, and Zoe. They hesitated for a moment before following their mother, leaving Mia alone beside the fresh grave. Liam, who had been standing aside, approached Mia quietly. "Ignore them, Mia," he murmured, wrapping an arm around her. He was the only one who seemed to truly understand the depth of her sister's grief. Mia watched her mother and sisters walk away, a tight knot of bitterness settling in her stomach. But she wasn't going to let her harsh words define her. She turned her gaze away from her retreating family and towards the gray tombstone marking her husband's final resting place. "I didn't kill you," she whispered, letting the wind carry her words away. She didn't need to defend herself to her family. She needed to forgive herself, as she hoped wherever he was, he could hear her. Growing up as the youngest of 5 children in the Roberts family, Mia always found herself as the odd one out, being described as a plain compared to her radiant sisters and handsome brother. She often felt like she was living in their shadows. The Roberts family home was always filled with noise and activity. Ava, Ella, and Zoe, each possessing their unique charm and talents, constantly drew attention. Ava with her ambitious nature, Ella with her athletic powers, and Zoe with her fashionista style were the 3 beacons of the Roberts family. Mia, however, found her solace in the quiet corners, often lost in the worlds of her books. Mia's childhood was a myriad of mockery and dismissals, mostly from her sisters. They often laughed at her plain features, her lack of interest in fashion, and her quiet demeanor. "Look at Mia," Ava would chortle, pointing at Mia, his thick glasses, "like a granny in a teenager's body." Ella would join in, calling her bookworm, and Zoe would smirk, offering her a makeover that Mia didn't want. Her mother, Lucy, despite her warm and caring nature, often seemed to overlook Mia. With her more successful and outgoing children demanding her attention, Mia felt unseen and unheard. Mia's father, John, while a loving man, was too consumed by his work to notice the subtle neglect. Amidst the swirl of laughter, chatter, and occasional disregard, Mia found an ally in her brother, Liam. He was the only one who never made her feel less for being different. He stood up for her when Ava, Ella, and Zoe went too far with their teasing. He spent time with her, playing games or simply listening as she shared stories from her books. His quiet support was a beacon of light in Mia's often gloomy world. Her teenage years were even more challenging. While her sisters attracted boys like bees to honey, Mia was frequently ignored. She would often find herself sitting alone at family gatherings, overhearing remarks about how she lacked the charm her sisters had. It was a constant reminder of her place as the family's ugly duckling. Despite the bitterness that often threatened to consume her, Mia learned to carve out a life for herself within the confines of her circumstances. She focused on her studies, worked part-time at the local library, and even managed to earn a scholarship to a prestigious school for gifted students. She embraced her unique self, the ugly duckling that she was. Through all the trials and tribulations, Mia maintained a resilience that was uniquely hers. When Mia met her future husband, Thomas, it felt like she had found her sanctuary in a storm. He was a quiet, intelligent man, a fellow lover of books, and he saw Mia not as an ugly duckling, but as a beautiful, brilliant woman. Thomas was an architect, his talent as vast as his heart. He recognized the vibrant soul beneath. He saw her intelligence, her wit, and her caring nature, and he adored her for it. Their courtship was simple and sweet. They shared walks under the stars, spent hours discussing literature, and cherished the quiet moments of simply being together. When Thomas proposed to Mia under the sprawling tree in the local park, it felt like the natural progression of their love story. The wedding was a modest affair, as neither Mia nor Thomas were fond of extravagant celebrations. In a small local church, they said their vows surrounded by friends and family. It was a magical day, and for the first time, Mia felt truly accepted and loved. However, the joy of their newlywed life was short-lived. Barely a year into their marriage, Thomas fell ill. A rare form of cancer was eating away at him. Mia watched, helpless, as the vibrant, loving man she knew became a mere shadow of his former self. She was by his side through every doctor's visit, every painful treatment, and every sleepless night. But despite her unwavering support and their endless prayers, the cancer was too aggressive. Thomas passed away, leaving Mia alone once again. The tragedy of losing her husband was only the beginning of Mia's troubles. Thomas had been the primary earner, and his medical bills had drained their savings. With him gone, she could barely afford to pay for the house's mortgage. Warnings from the bank started to arrive, each one threatening eviction. The house that once held the warmth of her love story was on the verge of being taken away. Mia felt trapped, crushed under the weight of her grief and financial strain. Her life, once filled with promise of love, now teetered on the brink of despair. Mia mustered the courage to visit her sisters, hoping they might lend her the help she so desperately needed. First, she visited Eva, who lived in a sleek apartment downtown, her successful marketing career evident in her luxurious lifestyle. "Leah, you must understand," Eva said, a sympathetic frown on her face that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I just bought a new car and, well, it's a bit tight for me right now." Next, she went to Ella, hoping her athletic sister might have more compassion. Ella's house was decorated with various sports memorabilia, the walls adorned with her achievements. "Ella, I just need a little help to tide over," Mia pleaded. "I am sorry, Mia," Ella replied, avoiding Mia's gaze. "I've got my tournaments and training coming up. I've got my own expenses." Zoe was her last resort among her sisters. Mia found her in a busy atelier surrounded by vibrant sketches and fabrics. Mia felt out of place among all the glamour, but she swallowed her discomfort and presented her request. "Zoe, I need help," Mia implored. Zoe sighed heavily, her painted lips pursed. "Mia, darling, I wish I could help, but my latest collection is draining all my finances." Disappointed but not surprised, Mia made her way to her parents' house, the home she had grown up in. "Mother, Father, I need help. I can't pay the mortgage. The bank, they're going to take the house," she stammered, trying to keep her voice steady. Lucy looked at John before turning back to Mia. "Oh, Mia, we'd love to help, but we just can't afford it right now." John added, "I am sorry, dear, but we don't have space here in case of your eviction. Your mother and I, we need our privacy. Feeling like a stranger in her own family, Mia turned to her last hope, Liam. But she knew he had his own financial struggles, barely making ends meet with his video game designing gig. "I'm sorry, Mia," Liam said, his voice heavy with regret. "I wish I could do more." With each refusal, Mia felt a piece of her hope shatter. She had always been the ugly duckling, the forgotten one, but she never thought that when she needed them the most, her family would turn their backs on her. Days later, Ava, the eldest, decided to throw a lavish party. Despite her situation, Mia attended. She hoped that the joyous occasion might lighten her heavy heart, even if only for a few hours. The party was vibrant, filled with laughter and chatter, an abundance of food and drink. Mia even found herself smiling at times, the festivities momentarily distracting her from woes. As the night grew late, Ava, a bit tipsy from the celebrations, stood up to make a speech. The room quieted, attention drawn to the successful eldest sister. Ava cleared her throat, swaying slightly, her eyes scanning the crowd before landing on Mia. "You know," Ava began, her voice louder than necessary, "in every family, there is a black sheep." There were a few chuckles around the room, some knowing looks exchanged. Ava continued, her words beginning to slur. "Yes, a black sheep that just stains the beautiful white family picture. It's like a spot you wish you could just erase." She chuckled, a little too loudly, a little too cruelly. Ava didn't mention any names, but the giggles from Ella and Zoe made it clear who she was referring to. The room filled with laughter, but to Mia it sounded hollow, echoing the emptiness she felt inside. Tears welled up in her eyes, the harsh words echoing in her head. She got up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. No one stopped her as she rushed out of the room, their laughter still ringing in her ears. The following morning, with a heavy heart and a sense of finality, Mia drove to the bank. The building loomed large and cold before her, a stark reminder of her reality. Inside, she met a stern-faced woman and handed over the paperwork. She signed the necessary documents to surrender the house, her hand shaking as she wrote her name. Afterward, she packed up her few remaining belongings into her old car, a faded red Chevy she had inherited from Thomas. Her heart ached as she took one last look at the house she had shared with her husband. But she didn't allow herself to break down. She started the car and drove away, the house growing smaller in her rear view. She drove for hours, watching as the city's high rises turned into suburban houses, which then turned into rolling fields and dense woods. She followed the winding roads, the sun setting and casting long shadows over the landscape. Eventually, she stumbled upon an old shack nestled deep within the woods. It was a small, run-down place, barely more than 4 walls and a roof, but to Mia, it was a sanctuary. She parked her car and unloaded her belongings. The shack was dusty and damp, and the chill seeped in through the cracks in the walls. But Mia was undeterred. She cleaned and organized, turning the desolate place into a semblance of a home. She was alone, but she wasn't afraid. She had lost everything, yet she felt a spark of hope. This was her new beginning, her chance to build a life on her own terms. And for the first time in a long time, Mia felt a sense of control over her life. The shack in the woods was her refuge, a place where the ugly duckling could finally find her peace. One morning, as Mia was washing some wild fruits she had gathered, she heard the rustle of leaves. Turning, she came face to face with a man she had never seen before. He was a tall, rugged figure, wearing worn-out clothes and carrying a hunting rifle on his back. His face was weathered, telling tales of a life lived mostly outdoors. "Morning, ma'am," he greeted, his voice deep and friendly. "Name's Ethan." Ethan explained that he was the owner of the shack and the surrounding mountains. Mia was initially startled, but she felt a strange sense of calm in his presence. She shared her story, explaining how she'd ended up there. Ethan listened attentively, nodding at times. When she finished, he merely said, "You can stay." In the days that followed, Mia and Ethan became good friends. He was a solitary man, having dedicated his life to searching for gold in the mountains. He didn't possess any high-tech equipment like a metal detector, but he had an instinct, a deep understanding of the mountains and where the hidden veins of gold might lie. He told her tales about outlaws and adventurers who had stolen riches and hidden the gold in these mountains. He believed that there were still treasures to be found, and he had made it his life's mission to uncover them. Despite his solitary life and simple appearance, Ethan was a wealthy man, having found and sold several gold nuggets over the years. But to him, it was more about the thrill of the chase than the wealth itself. Seeing a spark of curiosity and determination in Mia, Ethan decided to teach her the art of gold-seeking. Mia found herself engrossed in the stories he told and the knowledge he shared. She learned to navigate the mountains, to read the signs of nature, to feel the heartbeat of the earth under her feet. Together, they spent days trekking through the mountains, searching for signs of hidden gold. For Mia, these were moments of learning, healing, and finding a new sense of purpose. In the heart of wilderness, under Ethan's guidance, Mia was on a path to reinvent her life. Months passed in the harmony of their shared solitude and the thrill of their treasure hunts. Mia grew stronger, both physically and emotionally, becoming an experienced gold seeker under Ethan's guidance. Their friendship deepened, and their mutual respect grew into something more profound. One fateful day, while exploring near a hidden cave, Mia noticed an unusual cluster of rocks. Her instincts sparked, and she started digging. To her astonishment, she unearthed a cache of old rifles. But that wasn't all. Beneath the rusting firearms was a wooden chest, heavy and sturdy. With growing excitement, she pried it open to reveal a treasure beyond her wildest dreams. It was filled with gold coins, gleaming under the sunlight. Mia rushed to Ethan, her eyes shining with the thrill of the discovery. Ethan's expression mirrored her excitement as he examined the chest. This was the most significant find they had made so far. The next step was to take the treasure to the city, to Ethan's house. Unlike the shack in the woods, Ethan's city residence was a sprawling mansion resembling a palace more than a house. High walls, security cameras, and uniformed guards protected the luxurious dwelling. This was where he kept his finds, turning them into wealth that funded his lifestyle and passion. Once the treasure was safely stored, Ethan contacted the media. News about their extraordinary discovery spread like wildfire. Suddenly, Mia's face was everywhere. She was on the front page of newspapers, her story told and retold on TV channels and radio shows. After arriving at Ethan's palace, Mia suggested selling the gold coins at auction and splitting the proceeds. But Ethan gently disagreed. He believed that the true value of their find was not in its monetary worth, but in the story it told, the history it held, and the memories they had created in finding it. So, instead of selling the chest, Ethan made a proposal of a different kind. With the glittering chest as a witness, Ethan asked Mia to be his wife. Mia was taken aback but also filled with happiness. She looked at Ethan, her partner, her mentor, her friend, and saw a future she wanted to be part of. She said yes, her voice steady and full of joy. The wedding preparations began almost immediately. They decided on a grand celebration, inviting many people, including celebrities Ethan had come to know over the years. They wanted to share their happiness with everyone, to mark the beginning of their journey, together with a celebration to remember. Among the guests were Mia's family. They had watched her transformation from afar, following her journey in the media. Ava, Ella, Zoe, Liam, and their parents, Lucy and John, all arrived to witness Mia's wedding. They were a mix of surprise, confusion, and perhaps a hint of regret. Mia greeted them with grace and poise, not as the ugly duckling they once knew, but as a woman who had found her strength and her place in the world. She was a gold seeker, a survivor, a bride, and she was ready to start this new chapter of her life, hand in hand with Ethan. As was customary, Ava, the eldest sister, stood up to speak during the wedding reception. This time her words were not of scorn but of praise. She painted a glowing picture of Mia, describing her as the golden chicken of their family, their pride, and their most beloved sister since her very birth. Her words were eloquent and filled with affection, a stark contrast to the harsh remarks she had made during her party. As she spoke, the guests applauded, impressed by the supposed supportive and loving family. The sisters, too, joined the applause, their faces glowing with feigned admiration and love. Mia listened quietly, her expression calm. She was not fooled by Ava's words or the applause. She knew how quickly opinions could change when wealth and fame came into play. It was a bitter truth, but one she accepted without resentment. As she looked out at the applauding crowd and her family, she felt a sense of peace. She understood that she didn't need the approval of others to know her worth. She might not be the golden chicken Ava described, but she was strong, she was brave, and most importantly, she was happy. And that was all that mattered to her. After the wedding ceremony, the guests were presented with extravagant gifts as tokens of gratitude. They each received vouchers for a 2-day after-party at a 5-star hotel in Las Vegas, a surprise that left them buzzing with excitement. However, Mia had a different gift for her family. Her brother Liam, who had always been supportive despite his own hardships, received a key to a newly built house in a beautiful neighborhood. It was a gesture of thanks away for Mia to help him improve his life just like he had always stood by her. As for Ava, Ella, and Zoe, and her parents Lucy and John, they were no lavish gifts or vouchers. Mia offered them only her well wishes and a polite goodbye, a silent affirmation that she had moved on from their judgments and scorn. With their farewell said, Mia and Ethan climbed into their old red Chevy, the same one that had brought Mia to her new life. They left the glitz and glamour of the city behind, driving back to their humble shack nestled deep within the woods. The quiet of the woods, the thrill of gold-seeking, the shared meals after a long day's work, these simple joys were what made them truly happy. Money had brought them fame, opportunities, and the means to help those they cared about, but it was not what defined their happiness. The heart of their contentment lay in their shared passion, their deep friendship, and the love they had for each other. Thank you for listening until the end. My name is Cameron, and I am writing my stories for you guys. I am still improving my writing skills and my English. So feel free to comment and like, and if you wish to share, please. Thank you.